Here it is, back in the garage. Nick's front axle likes to do its own kind of thing. It likes to wander around, and she's got a lot of play that's developed. So we're gonna get rid of all that, literally everything. You see this whole front axle? Gone. I wish I could poof it right now, but we can't because we got to build everything. Let's see, I got some tube here, and I got this little drawing. So we're making a completely custom front axle for Scrappy, and custom steering as well, but we'll be getting to that in the next little episode or series on this thing, because this is going to take a little bit to get this front axle built. But again, this is the last look at this setup. Completely custom front axle. It's going to be made out of tubes this time. Everything's going to be on bearings. I'm kind of liking how this is going to be. Let's get to it. First thing we got to do, of course, plan it out, take some pieces out, and start bending up some tube on the M600 Rogue Fab Tube Bender. Of course, love this tool. Let's get bending and building. First tube is bent up. So now it's time to replicate it and do another exact tube. Let's get it done. Boom. Just like that, front axle is out. Now this axle ain't completely trashed because it's not the axle that's really the problem here. It was the frame got severely warped. We put all this extra bracing on, but I don't know. Oh yeah, you can tell. It's definitely in the inside there. Very warped and allowed just a shit ton of play. So we're gonna get that all reinforced and rebuilt on the frame as well as the custom front axle. I got it tack welded together. Next thing to do is put in the Buildco tube notcher and notch this thing out, and then get some bearing setups going, and you'll see that down the road here. Let's get it done. Oof, that's perfect. Not bad. I'm loving that. And the notcher is perfectly in line with the tubes and the angles we got going on.
Oh, that's a good angle.
Oh, I love it.
That's a good angle. I can.
Awesome. Let's get the other side done. Alright, so check it out. Building some parts, building some tools. So as you can see in there, turn down the inside there so I can fit a bearing up in there. So there'll be one bearing on either end of this, so that's going to be perfect. Thing is, I had to build my own boring bar here with just one of my quick release carbide bits, so that's pretty rowdy, but sometimes you got to build your own tools to get the job done. I'm waiting for a boring bar in the mail, but I needed this stuff done today, so time to make the other one and get these on the axle so we can line them up center, or if we're going to put them at an angle. Haven't figured it out yet. The other one laid out and get on to the next part. Let's do it. Alright, so check it out. I got the spindle bearing knuckles welded on. Got them at 83 degrees, I believe, and then I will put the other, the actual spindles, the inserts that go in this part that I'm building right now, the actual where the tire gets mounted to, I'll put those at a 90 degree to the mower, or I should say to this bearing spot. So as you can see, I laid it out. So I got a center articulation spot made here, 2 press-in bearings. This will get welded on to the axle here, not directly to it. I'm gonna have a piece of this flat bar on the top of this axle, and as you can probably see, I got this square stock, and that's gonna get stitch weld the whole way around. I'm even thinking I'm going to do these side pieces, both front and back of the axle. The only crappy part is my welder ran out of wire, and it's too late in the day to go drive out there. There's a big storm, yada yada yada. I'm kind of done for the day and want a beer. Anyways, didn't want to weld that, or I couldn't weld that up right now, so I decided I'd start making some spindles. I have some what they claim to be 7/8 bushings, but I checked it, it's not. I gotta remember when I measure it. Anyways, I gotta make spindles so that's this part, the actual turning part. So I gotta go buy the metal that's gonna get inserted into where this has a bearing and the other top side has a bearing, and then I'll actually lay the piece that's in the inside, and then this will be on the bearings, and then the actual spindle. So let's get over to the lathe so I can show you guys what I'm doing. Alright, so I got a couple of 7/8 raw stock cold roll steel cut out, and I got this one in the lathe, as you can see. Now, the thing I'm going to do right now, after I've got my final dimensions here, it's a 6.5 inch long spindle, and that's going to get welded in a little, or like just an inch off from the outside here. I'm going to get welded, and then that's going to be where the actual top spindle gets welded to go into those bearing spots I was just showing you. Anyways, what I have to do right here, I'm going to come in about right there, and I'm going to come in and do 2 mils worth. So I found out that the tip of the parting tool is 1.8 millimeters. So I'm going to go in and then move it over 0.2 mils, or a couple thous, and then I'm going to put 2 or 1 thick C-clip that goes over top there, or like a locking ring, E-ring, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to part that out so I can put my locking clip on, and then I'm also going to see if Nick wants me to put tap this out so we can put a unlocking nut or a bolt on there, so that you don't have to fully trust the lock rings. Either way, that's what I'm going to get up to. This storm might be taking out the power. It's taking out a lot of the power in town, so I'll see what I can get done today. Otherwise, tomorrow I'm going to be going to my dad's place again using his welder. Hint, hint, hopefully. This is not a hopefully, I know. I got something coming in the mail, something that looks like this thing. Anyways, I'll get to that later when it comes in. But for now, I'm going to go to the Doug's fully welded, and then start building the spindles and get that all welded in, and then actually start working on the frame pieces, because again, this whole inside of the frame needs to get redone. Still have to clean up all the little weld berries that's surrounding this thing, but damn, still lots of welding that needs to get done. But of course, gotta appreciate the welds that were done. Super happy with that welder. Can't wait to get a really nice one of my own soon. Hint, hint. Anyways, the next thing we have to do is weld a flat stock bar on the top here, so we have a nice flat surface, and then weld our articulation spot on there. Super sweet. We picked up all the bearings today for it, so we can put all the bearings into our recessed slots there, or holes I should say. Wow, this is coming along great. I am loving it. Super nice axle coming at you. Right, quick tip here. So, not the easiest place now to find center of the axle, because I didn't mark it in the beginning because I didn't know exactly where I was cutting it, yada yada. Anyways, quick tip. What I did is I just installed some rod down into the spindles, clamped on both sides, and then I ran a ruler on the top, made a mark on both sides, slide it over, mark on that side, ruler on. Then took my measuring tape, I measured the gap between the two of them, and it's 28 inches. Half of 28, 14. Now I went, marked off one side, 14 inches, and then I checked the other side, and it was dead on straight. So now that I know where my center is, I can put my articulation spot on top, right dead center, and know that it's going to be centered to the two spindles. Anyways, let's get this welded together and show you guys what it looks like all welded up. I'm excited. Check it out. Fully welded custom front axle. Bearinged. Those are old bearings. I just put them in there so when I welded this all, I didn't warp anything and didn't get any weld berries inside. So I'll be popping those out and replacing them with these new bearings here. Alright, so you're probably wondering what's going inside of these tubes other than the bearings. Bearing on the top, bearing on the bottom, and a spindle. So I took these long 3/4 inch bolts and I cut out the inside of it, this center chunk, and I laid it all down so that it's all nice crisp, nice fresh. So that's going to go inside of the tube there, and then down to the actual spindle that will come out the sides. So this will be 3/4 inside, and then a 7/8 spindle coming off. Alright, so this is going to be one heavy duty, super durable, strong, whatever you want to call it. This is going to be one hell of a front axle. Lots of new parts, everything's custom on it, other than the bearings. You can't really make the bearings, or I'm not making bearings. But you can see, those ones are all juiced out, so those will be getting replaced. Beautiful welds on there. Dougie's welder works great. Backside's the same. As you can see, insides are all nice and clean. This is quite the front axle. Admire the beauty of it. So, next day, getting some more work done. Yesterday we got the wheel spindle. So this spindle is going to get connected onto this spindle like this. And then that will go into that tube. So this is the top spindle, this is the bottom spindle. The bottom spindle is made out of 7/8, and then this is a 3/4 inch shaft, and this will go into the bearing. Right, so here's what a factory wheel bearing would look like. It's not a bearing, it's just a bushing. So nothing too crazy, but it's got just a bit hair bigger of a ID than a 3/4 inch OD. So yeah, that's what I had to lay this down to, and then that is what I am doing right now on the lathe. So what I'm actually doing this very second is I'm about to do my center hole so that I can put my live center in here, my live center, and pull this out so I can turn down 4 inches without it wandering at all. So I'm gonna drill that and then get this all turned down, and we'll have 2 perfectly made spindles ready to get installed, or welded together then installed. So there you have it. Just finished up lathing this last spindle arm. So these 2 is where the tire gets mounted to, and these 2 actually go into the axle. And then this bolt is going to be my center articulation bolt. But of course I gotta make it here because I cut it off to take these parts out to make the spindles. Or sorry, these parts out to make the upper half of the spindles. Anyways, more lathing come, or more lathing was done. More to come on here. But I think at this point we need to get some more shit done. So let's get her done. Out. Bearings are in. You know what that means? Work's getting done. Alright, check it out. First welded spindle. So this is just tack welded, as you can see. But as you can see here, so I have my spindle, then I have my top spindle arm. So this goes into the bearings. I put 2 machine washers, welded them, and welded them straight 90 degrees to this bar here. I put it in the lathe and spun it over, and she spun very straight. Weld these on to here now, sorry, just like this. And then I'll end up with somewhat of an angled unit here, so I can fully weld this whole underside in there when I head over to my dad's place again. But holy, those are looking beautiful. This whole thing's very heavy, which we like. We are always looking to add weight to the front of the mowers because they don't have any front wheel drive, so they're light up front. So we like to try and add as much weight to the front axles as we can, as well as we also are going to be putting metal in the inside and sandbagging it as well. And well, not literal sand, but when I say sandbagging, I just mean adding more dead weight. We don't want to add too much, so you're gonna kind of have to find your fine line of weight to mower, I guess you can say. But either way, let's get these spindles welded and get on to them installed. All right, axle is together. Not final assembly together, but it's together. Spindles came out perfectly.
toxic.